Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from across the world, let's get ready to rumble! In this corner, standing a little above 7 foot, weighing 45 pounds, Dale the Real Steel Barbell. And over in this corner, standing at a weight unknown with a height unknown because we just can't measure its dimensions, Dean the Mean Machine. Both contestants are standing in the middle of the ring ready for this bout. But before we begin, if you haven't figured it out by now, today we're talking about free weights versus machines. We're going to discuss the pros and cons for both and see if one is actually better than the other. And then I'm going to give you my honest opinion and tell you which one I know is better. I might get blacklisted for this one, and I'll probably get a lot of hate. But that's all right, because I'm bringing straight facts. Buckle up, Buttercup. You're going for a ride. So if you're not familiar with the difference between free weights and machines, let me break it down as simply as I can. Free weights are equipment like dumbbells, barbells, and kettlebells that you can move around freely. Machines, on the other hand, are pieces of equipment that guide your movement in a fixed path, but they do provide quite a bit of stability. Now, there's benefits to both. First, we'll talk about free weights. Number one, versatility. You can perform a wide range of exercises targeting different muscle groups with just a few pieces of equipment. With a barbell, you can do overhead presses, you can do squats, lunges, rows, and the list just goes on. Number two, stability and core activation. Free weights require you to stabilize your body. From engaging your core on pretty much every free weight exercises, to using your rotator cuffs on every push press exercise, to using your glutes for all squatting exercises. Free weights require all these stabilizers to perform movements, which promotes overall functional strength. Third is natural movement patterns. They allow for a more natural range of motion, helping you build strength in ways that mimic real life activities. For instance, picking something up off the ground mimics a hinge or squat. And the last pro of free weights is it builds both strength and mass. Free weights incorporate multiple muscle groups to perform movements, driving strength and hypertrophy gains for those muscle groups. For example, bench press strengthens the pecs, triceps, shoulders, and rotator cuffs. Now, there are a few downsides to free weights, especially if you train really stupidly, like I do or did. Number one is injury risk. If not used properly, free weights can lead to injuries, especially for beginners who lack proper form. I can tell you that I've personally had to rehab the rotator cuff muscles on each one of my shoulders due to stupid form and technique on bench press. Number two is learning curve. It can take time to master the techniques for effective lifts, which might be intimidating for some new lifters. This is a big one. I've seen a lot of people get fed up with trying to squat properly and just opt out for the leg press or the Smith machine because those machines were a whole lot easier. Cowards. Now you have a few pros when it comes to using machines. Number one is safety. Machines usually have a built-in safety feature which can reduce the risk of injury, making them easier for beginners. Not to mention that most machines have one direct path to follow, so it's hard to mess that up. The second one is you can isolate or target the muscle that you want to work. This allows for focus training. For instance, leg extensions allow you to focus solely on the quads versus squat, which requires not only the use of quads, but requires core stability, the use of your glutes and your hamstrings. And the third one is they're user-friendly. Typically easier to use with clear instructions and minimal need for advanced techniques. On the flip side, here are some cons for using machines. The first one is limited range of motion. Like we said earlier, you have one fixed path. That one fixed path can limit your movement and could create some muscle imbalances. The second one is less core or stability engagement. Since machines provide stability, they do less to engage the core or other stabilizers, which means not too much functional strength. And the last, they add mass, but they don't add strength. Machines isolate the muscles that they are supposed to work. This can promote hypertrophy, but not strength, since most compound movements require multiple muscle groups to perform the movement. And there's a good possibility that isolating muscle groups too much can actually lead to muscle imbalances. Now, this is where it gets spicy. This is where I expect all the heat. As you just heard, you cannot get stronger from just using machines. That is a fact. And whoever told you otherwise lied. Most machines just isolate the muscles that they're designed to work. It does not incorporate other muscle groups or your main stabilizers to perform the movement, such as the rotator cuffs for push press or the glutes for knee tracking during squats. Yep, there are a bunch of people who think certain machines will improve their overall strength on compound movements. No. One example is the seated press machine and even the Smith machine. Lord have mercy. For bench press. You can build some mass on your pegs using those machines, but you won't build any functional strength whatsoever that'll correlate over the bench press. Your rotator cuff muscles won't be working at all, and your other muscles won't be getting nearly the amount of stress doing that machine work, because the machine stabilizes the load for you. Another example, and this is a big one, is the leg press. Whether you're targeting your glutes, your quads, or both, the machine stabilizes the weight for you. Your core or your glutes don't have to work nowhere nearly as hard, making sure that your trunk is upright or positioned the way it's supposed to be, or your knees are tracking correctly during a leg press. Those muscles or those stabilizers don't have to do that compared to a squat. So in essence, you can't get stronger using machines, or you can't get stronger just using machines. You won't build any type of functional strength. One of the reasons is because your stabilizers get left to hang out and dry. The only way to get stronger is to use free weights. Now, I know what I'm going to hear is something along the lines of, hey, I incorporated leg press on my squat day, and my legs got stronger. Easily explained. What you did is you went over to the leg press, you built up a little bit of muscle on the leg press, and then the following week when you come back and you squat it again, that additional muscle that you're building from the leg press, you're strengthening it using the squat. So in essence, your stabilizers weren't the problem in the first place. It was just your weak or small legs. Now, if you just perform leg presses and didn't squat, legs might get a little bit bigger, but they're not going to get any stronger. Now, what you would have been better off doing instead of the leg press was actually doing other accessory exercises like a split squat, Bulgarian split squat, lunges, front squat, something else that could have also not only help you build muscle, but would have also carried over some functional core strength. Leg presses ain't doing that. So basically what I'm saying is you opted out for something easier instead of something a little bit harder. Hate to tell you, peeps, but gains don't come from easy. So does that mean you should never use a machine when you're training for strength? My good people, let me break it down to you like this. Free weights will always be more beneficial because they promote body coordination and control, since you'll be training multiple muscle groups, including your stabilizers. This includes main lifts like bench press, rows, squat, deadlift, and even accessory lifts like the barbell curl. Made a video last week talking about how important it was to you when you done a barbell curl to do it standing so you can work your core. And I firmly believe that whenever you work a particular muscle group, whether it be your biceps, your triceps, your chest, your legs, you should always include one exercise that makes you use your core stability and core strength. For biceps, it's barbell curls. By using free weights, your stabilizing muscles have to coordinate with your prime movers and your synergists to complete movements. And not only are these muscles getting stronger, but they're getting bigger. Most of my training revolves around free weight because I want to be not only bigger, I want to be stronger, I want to be more powerful, and I want to be more stable. Now, I rarely use a machine unless I have some type of injury to one of my stabilizing muscles. And I still use leg extensions because I can't get these friggin' legs to grow. Now, there are some exceptions to machines, such as cable crosses and some lat pull down machines. They're an exception because you still have to use some type of control with the weight as you either push or pull it down, which forces you to use your stabilizers, improving overall strength. Now, if your endurance or your conditioning for your stabilizers is lacking, what you can do is prioritize using free weights first to maximize strength and hypertrophy gains for whatever muscles you're using through the movement, and then move on to some machine work to help isolate the muscles. Now, a ton of bodybuilders usually start off with free weights first and end with machines. That's how they build a lot of mass. And I am not saying they're weak, but you know, they got help. But the only way you're going to improve the conditioning and endurance of those stabilizers is to do free weight. That's the only way. You got to do that free weight, buddy. Quit relying on machines because they're not going to help you. What good is it to have massive quads but barely be able to squat 405? And you're going to let me, a small-legged heathen, out squat you? Come on now. Now, if you weren't paying attention, free weights is the winner for both strength and hypertrophy. If you found this information helpful, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. And to stay tuned in for future content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Until next time, this is Strong Bear Fitness.